Let us please begin, the way I do begin my classes routinely at St. Vladimir's, with a little moment of silence. Together, it's a very important word, together, be aware of each other. Let's be aware, let's go interior, be aware of our breathing, our heart beating, and aware that within our heart, our temple, is the very presence of Jesus Christ right now loving us. Phenomenal. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. My topic is purity, youth through family and parish. I'll begin, how do I say this? I teach. So when I teach, typically I give out index cards and pens, and I say, oh, please take this note. I'm not going to do that today. So I'll use invisible index cards, which I just gave to you, and invisible pens, which you have. Take this note invisibly on that topic. Christ is everything. Christ is everything. I talk to youth a lot and give them index cards. And then at the very end, I'll give them index cards of all the stuff I said, blah, 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 blah. Write down one sentence you want to remember. And I would say a solid fourth of them, write down at the end that sentence. That's what they need. That's what they need to hear. The cross is a difficult privilege. Now, I'm saying that to me and to you, but particularly through us to youth. I will say, humanly speaking, the Church's most precious treasure, that is to say, our most precious treasure, is our youth. That's it. And I will say, the most precious treasure in our youth is their innocence, their purity. And it's in great risk. And for many of those youth, you and I are about the only thing between them and the edge. So, we don't make too much of that, but that's the way it is. So the youth do live in a horrific culture. I'm not going to say anything about that, except that's the way it is. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Woo! There are two implications to that. First, they shall see God on this earth. Not just in heaven. It's not a hereafter kind of thing. No. They shall see God here. Implication 2. Those who are not pure of heart might not see God. They might not know God. My own experience in my own little lifetime, and I am 74, speaking out of my own shoes, the less I know God are those periods in my life when I was most impure or away from Him, were the times I talked most about Him. So there's almost an equation in there about fog, too much fog. I'm going to make 2 points about youth and purity. The question is how? Okay, we want our youth pure, we want our youth innocent. How? What do we do? First thing, we need to bring to youth, pure adults, pure elders. And now when I say that, that's not a given or a throwaway sentence in this church with me and you. Being Orthodox and being pure are not at all synonymous. No, they're not at all. I teach in the seminary. I'm going to make a little invisible pyramid. Blessed are the pure in heart, divided into three layers. Bottom layer, overt behaviors. Middle layer, top layer. Bottom layer, foundation, behaviors. Pure of heart, and I'll speak purity, I'll speak sexually, that is to say, purity in terms of keeping one's body and one's soul and one's spirit pure, as Father Tom said so nicely. By the way, if you ever talk, he's a tough act to follow. Don't do that. It's like, no. On the bottom level of that little pyramid would be sexual behaviors, fornication, adultery as the wayward behaviors. And I'm going to say, virtually everyone in this temple at this moment is pretty much okay at that level. I might be wrong by a person or two, but I'm going to say virtually nobody in this place is currently having a problem with fornication or adultery. I'll make that assumption. At the second level, at the second level, I'm going to say there are some huge problems in this room and in Orthodoxy. I'm going to call the second level entertainment. Because that's one litmus test of how pure in heart I am. What do I choose to veg out? What do I choose for downtime? And that will tell me a lot about me. And if I'm choosing things that I will call against purity, then I have nothing to say to youth, or I have no body and soul to bring to them. I just don't. I just don't have it. We're all in progress, and I don't claim to be pure, but we need to know our trajectory, where we're heading. So, and forgive me, frankly, I have a TV, but I don't watch it very much. I don't watch 10 minutes a week. So I'm kind of like going by little hearsay stuff of programs. But if I happen to want to watch some of the primetime television programs, like Desperate Housewives, or if I'm into the latest tabloid about what's happening to Britney Spears' life or Lady Gaga, frankly, that's simply mental voyeurism. I take my mind into someplace else's corrupt life or corrupt parts of their lives. Or even, I suppose, many of the soap operas these days. By the way, that's a straight primetime TV. One time I gave a retreat to priests in New York. I'll never forget it. I was talking like this, blah, blah, blah. But youth, because I do a lot of work with youth. One of the priests said, because I was saying you have to keep yourself pure or you have nothing to say. One of the priests said, well, Dr. Rossi, I watch MTV so I can speak their language. My response was, well, Father, that's your way and your opinion, thank you, but I differ. I don't, and I don't think anyone should. And then he stood up and went on, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, thank you. Youth don't want friends. First thing I tell youth is I'm a dinosaur. I have no idea who your local hero is, or what TV you're watching, or what kind of music you listen to. Youth want an elder who's down the highway a bit and has something to say and who cares about them. That's the formula. Care and a little bit to say. And frankly, they'll follow the elder like a Pied Piper. but they are in danger. So I will say so that second level of entertainment. By the way, that gets real subtle about what I choose as my entertainment. I'll give you my own entertainment standards. I have 2 kids, 37 and 31, and 3 grandchildren, 7, 4, and 2. It's a lot easier being a grandfather, I'll tell you that. My own, and I don't impose these, but my own entertainment standards are, I will not watch anything on TV or DVD or the theater with any excessive violence. I don't want it in the retina of my eye. What's excessive? I'll watch Saving Private Ryan and Civil War movies. But I will not watch the Texas Chainsaw Killer, where a man gets on an elevator with 3 women. He has a McCullough saw, stops between floors, pulls the saw, boom, 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 and for 17 minutes dismembers them on the inside of the elevator. Body parts flying all over. What's the point? By the way, there's a clear link between violence and lust. I will also not watch any nudity or any sex on the screen. That's me. But I've had that for quite a while. My kids knew it when they were growing up. My daughter would come home from college and she'd say, "Dad, let's go see a movie." "Okay, honey." Pull out the newspaper and put it on the table. She'd say, "Oh, let's go see Vampire." "Oh, I don't think so, honey." "Let's go see Silence of the Lambs." "Oh, no." Then she'd say to me, this is like a recurrent conversation, "Dad, you're not a man of the 90s. I say, "Thank you, sweetheart." But what's interesting is, and this is what's lacking in our culture, are elders. Certainly lacking elders in the public forum, schools. But they're also lacking elders in the church. Persons who have values and articulate them in a way that youth can know. Because both my children will say to me, my son Tim will call me, "Dad, I saw a great movie the other day. Even you can see it." Now, I don't doubt that they have seen stuff that, drive me crazy. But they need to know that there's someone in this world who doesn't do it. That's what they need. They need someone who, in a sense, is a walking indictment on their behaviors. And it may not, in the short run, it may or may not change them, but they do. So, elders, they need elders. Pyramid, 2 levels, entertainment in the middle. Top level is thoughts. And we're talking about lust and sexuality. It's virtually impossible to live in this culture and not have some lustful thoughts. Where I live, Crestwood, New York, North Yonkers, you can't go up Central Avenue without seeing an ad on the back of the bus for Victoria's Secret that would have been called Pornography when I was a kid. Now it's called advertising. Okay, but thoughts come, and the difference between temptation and sin is profound. Thoughts come, they're temptations, they will always come. What we need to do with them is not cooperate at all and disclose them without detail to another human being. I'm not a priest confessor. I don't know. I don't know how many priests hear that people have lustful thoughts. I don't know. The priests I talk to say they don't hear it enough. That we're just not aware. We're just not aware of what's happening. I want to read a little quote to you from Father Breck from The Sacred Gift of Life. "Our threshold of tolerance towards sexual explicitness and exploitation has been lowered dramatically, way down, what we tolerate. The spiritual and psychological toll exacted by this situation is incalculable." We have to know that. I and you need to know we're at risk. I will say some things about youth. We want youth, particularly high school kids and college kids, innocent and pure. And we need to talk to them about these issues. And my own opinion is it's not being done enough at all. There are a couple of things that just don't work. And I'll say this again, on your invisible index cards, please take these notes. With youth, first thing that does not work, meaning change behaviors, is fear tactics. Fear tactics don't work. They don't change kids. By fear, I mean abortion, pregnancy, sexual transmitted diseases, AIDS, blah, 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 blah. Those fear tactics don't change behaviors. We need to know that. Second thing that don't work are statistics. They're not interested in 999 out of 1,000. They don't care. So we don't use statistics. And the third thing that doesn't work with kids on this topic, or any topic, is the appeal to authority alone. This doesn't work. It doesn't work. Okay, that doesn't work. So the only tool we have with adolescents, high school and college kids, is authentic communication. That's the only tool we have. And the only appeal we have is to their heroism. We have to appeal to their idealism. And they can hear it, and they can respond. They can hear it, and they can respond. I'll give you the little example I use, and I'll say this to everybody. Father Tom and I give presentations every summer. I just got an invitation this afternoon from a program called Crossroad in Boston. Make a note of that. 10 days, one in June, one in July, for 30 high school kids, juniors and seniors, where they get high theology by Father Tom and Father Rossi and others. And then in the afternoons they do stuff. In the evenings, people like me come and talk to them about various stuff. Those youth are transformed by the experience, but they want authentic communication, and they want to hear about Jesus Christ from people who are close to him. And they will sniff it out, they will intuit it in a blink. They know when we're authentic and when we're not. But the little example I say to them, and suggest you think of something analogously, I say, my Timothy, suppose you're teens, when your age, if he were in the army, which he's not, and he were off duty in a room in Iraq with his buddies, and someone drove by and took a hand grenade and threw it in the window, and everyone saw this live hand grenade is going to go off in 5 seconds and blow the crap out of them. They'll look at it. Tim's the boy who would dive on it and absorb the shrapnel in his belly. He would take one for his friends. He would. That's who he is. He's never had to do it. But I say to you, that's who you are. And that they hear. They want to be able to take one for their friends. They want to be heroes. And they want someone to call them to it. And I say to them, your self-image is at stake. If someone's calling you to be a hero and you decide you're going to do it, you think, even if you never dive in a hand grenade, you understand yourself as more of the person you really want to be. Question, how do you become a hero to teens? A, prayer. Prayer is hidden martyrdom, according to St. Ignatius Branchaninov, who wrote the Arena. And B, by saying no. And they have to be taught to say no and how to say no. And you say to them, you say no now because you can learn to say yes later. But for right now, teens have to say no to drugs and all kinds of other opportunities to come their way. That's what they need to hear, and that's what they can do. They need to know that purity is not about it's about a relationship with Jesus Christ. So, a couple more things about youth at that age. And I speak to all of us, whether you happen to have teens or not, we're all implicated. With teenagers, high school kids particularly, but college kids as well, the adage is, choose your battles and win. So choose a few battles and win. Don't try to conquer everything because you'll lose. Drugs and sex are really the battles you want to choose and win. I'll give you a little example. My Timothy, my wife died. It'll be 20 years in a couple weeks. So Timothy and I, two alphas, grew up in the house together because my Beth went off to college. And it was a disaster. We got along, but we had, two males shopping and cooking and eating. It was like, whoa, man. But we did some nice things. We did have a lot of fun, the ski trips and all that. One day, I said to him, Tim, you know what? We need to go shopping for food. Okay, Dad. So we went locally to ShopRite. You'd have to know my Tim. Tall, athletic, very bright, and a boy of very few words. When I talked to him, if I took more than 2 sentences, he would walk away. What do you want to say, Dad? Just tell me. Like that. So I learned anything I had to say came in 2 sentences or he was gone. Strong, but he was a leader. So when Tim said something, all his friends were saying the same thing for 2 weeks. He and I are shopping. I'm pushing the cart. He's in front of me. I'll never forget this. We're walking along near the deli. There are these great big barrels of pickles in brine with see-through plastic tops and aluminum handle in the middle. And I watched it happen like slow motion. Tim is walking, and he saw the pickles, and with his left hand, he reached in his back pocket for his comb. With his left hand, he lifts up the lid, puts the comb in the brine, puts the comb through his hair, puts the lid back on, and carries on walking. I was absolutely flabbergasted. I mean, frankly, my first reaction was, that was brilliant. Like, the real question is, as I asked myself, okay, fellow, you got the cart near his dad. What do you do? I have lots of choices. A, I could say, Tim, let's have a little talk. I'd just assume you didn't put your comb in the pickle brine. A, you might, I don't know what, ruin the pickle brine. B, you might get lice in your hair. I could take him to the manager. We'll have a talk with the manager. Maybe you can talk to my boy about putting his comb in pickle brine. I'm pushing the cart, bewildered. To tell you the honest truth, I still to this day don't know if I did right or wrong. I acted like it never happened. Tim, what kind of lunch meat should we go buy at the deli? What's the point? Do I want to make sure he never puts a comb in pickle brine again? You know what I'm saying? Now, that's one example out of 100,000 with my Timothy. Or with children, we need to know what's going on, and we need to know the name of the game and who adolescents are. Adolescents are simply reliving their 2-year-old, their terrible twos. I won't go through Erickson's stages, but the terrible twos, when a toddler learns to say no and then grows out of it, the teenager, by parallel, is learning to say no in a different kind of way with a bigger body, but it's the same thing. Now, they'll say no in 1,000 ways. They may wear 2 different shoes to school, or who knows what they may do. But they must test us so that they are preparing to become us, like us, absorbing our values. And they'll see right through us one way or another. That's what they get paid for. Our job is to see the good in them. Quick example on that. And please, how am I doing with time? I have no... 20 minutes. One time I gave a retreat to Antiochian youth in the Adirondacks. Gorgeous place, owned by Syracuse University. And they had come from all over, Niagara Falls and, great distances. And I knew they came to see their friends. They weren't coming for Rossi. They're coming to be with the buddies from Antiochian Village. Okay. But I have a chance to talk to them a while. Saturday morning, bright, they just got there, everyone is alert. How do I say this? I'm talking to 30 high school kids and behind them are great big windows down to one's knees, all the way along the back, and 2 doors on either side. Then outside is a little walkway and a little, railing, and a lake. Adirondacks Lake, big, and beyond that are gorgeous green trees. Beautiful view and sunny. So I said to them, oh, okay, we're going to get started. First thing, we're all going to get up, going to go outside, 5 minutes of silent prayer. So we did it. They're kids, so they get up and they grumble, blah, 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 and they're outside. And I said, but I don't want simply humanistic, naturalistic prayer. Don't just say, oh, what a beautiful place, a lot of chlorophyll in the air, green, green, green. That's okay. But I want you to pray to Jesus Christ through it. Okay? Okay. So we go outside, 5 minutes of silence. Though they're slumped, they're praying. So we came back in, and I talked. So I talked morning, afternoon, evening. They were up most of the night. Sunday morning, it's a gray, cold day. Divine Liturgy, brunch, 1 o'clock by the time that's all over. They're leaving at 3. They're all tired, and Rossi has to talk to them at 1. They don't want Rossi at 1. And Rossi doesn't want to be there at 1. And I looked out at them, and right in front of me were 2 girls sitting, little sweethearts, with their heads together and their eyes half closed, and a white blanket around the both of them. They're looking at me like this. I said, oh. So I said to them, I'll be candid. I was going to have you go outside and pray, like we did yesterday, but I can see you're in no mood for it, so we won't start that way. And the boy in front put up his hand. He said, Dr. Rossi, make us go outside and pray. I said, no. I will not make 30 go outside because one wants to do it. How many want me to make you go outside and pray? 30 hands went up. I said, go. And they grumbled. Oh, it's too cold. Oh, he's making us do it. We have to know that. We have to know what we're dealing with. That's the nature of the beast. We expect that, but we don't let that deter us from what we want to do, namely teach them about Jesus Christ. So my first point was about elders. They need elders. Second point, I and you need to teach youth about a relationship with Jesus Christ, and they're ready to hear it. Don't sell them short. Do not sell them short. They need to learn about silence and prayer, and they can get it. Now, you have to do it slowly and kindly, and little exercises, and talk about silent moments you've had, and if I had, all afternoon with you, I would give you index cards and say, write down a silent moment that you had, and let's talk about it, as I do with kids. And you'd get the point that there's profundity in silence. And I talk long and hard about the Jesus prayer to high school kids. You know what? They get it. And I'm going to show you how they get it. Because at this program, and make a mental note of this program, Crossroad, it's really great. So I talked 2 hours in the evening and then 2 hours the next morning. And I talked about silence and the Jesus prayer, then purity the next morning. 2 years ago, on Sunday morning at Divine Liturgy and brunch, I'm walking to the library building where I was going to give my talk. How do I say this? And I'm walking this way on a gorgeous day, sun's coming down, it's in June, and at a 90-degree angle, walking, is a 17-year-old high school girl singing softly. So I said to myself, I have no idea what the kids are listening to these days. I'll find out from what she's singing. As we got to the door, she stopped singing. So I opened the door for her. I said, honey, what were you singing? She looked at me like sheepishly. She said, the Jesus prayer. I said, I beg your pardon. She said, well, you asked me. I said, would you sing it for me now? She said, yes, she did. I said, can I take you in a room and record it? She said, yeah, and I'm going to play it for you. I pushed. I said, I'm going to go up and talk to 30 of you for a couple hours. Will you come up first and sing it to the other 29? She said, yeah, her name's Martha. And she came up and she sang the Jesus prayer. They clapped respectfully. She sat down. Now you understand, she was not singing the Jesus prayer to impress Rossi. She was singing the Jesus prayer because she wanted to sing the Jesus prayer, period. That's growth. And I have not given a talk since then that I haven't played Martha. And I have a collection of people singing the Jesus prayer that you wouldn't believe. A woman sent me an email of an autistic kid singing the Jesus prayer. It's beautiful, little Wilson. I'm not going to bore you with all of that, but I want to play Martha. And I want you to understand the dynamic here. That I'm going to make the claim that all heaven, angels, were doing somersaults of joy as this little thing is walking across the campus singing the Jesus prayer. It's as plain as can be. That's as good as it gets. That's innocence. That's purity retained. But it was taught, of course. Last year at Crossroad, I played Martha. And how do I say? I talked and talked and talked, and I finished up, and I said, oh, thank you. And I was getting my stuff together. And a whole great big bunch of high school kids came up around the microphone and started to sing the Jesus prayer. Unsolicited, that's the point. It's all unsolicited. And the tech guy recorded them. So these are high school kids unsolicitedly singing the Jesus prayer. Just kind of get a whiff of their spirit. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I have 13 different recordings of the Jesus prayer, Slavonic, Romanian. People keep sending it to me because they hear Martha and they're caught on fire with it. I'll play one more. I went to I understand I'm talking about purity. How do we get kids to be pure? We don't continually try to fight out the brush fires. We go deeper. We introduce them to Jesus Christ. I was told I could use names, so I'll use names. I gave a marriage enrichment retreat in Cleveland in the fall. And the priest there has 3 kids. I won't go into too much detail, but he sent me, after hearing Martha, himself and his children and his wife singing the Jesus prayer, and he says they sing this every night. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. The beautiful part about this is I cannot sing a note. I didn't teach them singing. They picked it up. It's the work of the Lord Jesus Christ. However, we cannot underestimate the value. By the way, you want to grab kids? Use music. You want to get into their little hearts? Use music. That's the way into the heart. And I have a couple songs of my wife singing that I use for them about purity. If I have time, maybe I'll play one. Because that's what they hear. I have at least 3 different emails, I'll read one now, of follow-ups of youth who have heard and sung the Jesus Prayer. This is January 12th, a month ago, from a girl. On my way up the mountains to snowboard today, my sister, 2 friends, and I got into an accident. Accident. The car I was in slid on the ice, we lost control, and fell down the side of the mountain. We were caught by 2 trees. Had we been going any faster or slower, or lost control at another time, we would have fallen into the freezing river, and who knows what would have occurred. As soon as I saw I was going down, I only thought of Crossroad and immediately started singing the Jesus Prayer. It was more like a speed rap. We're all okay, but I just want to thank all of you for giving us the experience that I had and teaching me the Jesus Prayer song. I definitely feel that it could have I definitely feel that it could have had a bit to do with the outcome. I have at least 3 of those. I have one from California, accident, and so on. We need to be bold in what we teach our children. We need to be really bold about what we teach our children and what we call them to. And we don't call them to a lot of no's, don't. We call them to authenticity. Just a brief word about internet pornography, which I'll talk about tomorrow to the priest, but for now, know that our youth are really at risk with internet pornography. Internet pornography is a $100 billion industry, as Father Tom so nicely said. Major League Baseball, National Football League, and National Basketball Association, income net combined are less than money made on internet pornography. It's a $100 billion industry. And 87% of male youth below the age of 19 say they look at internet pornography, and 31% of females look at internet pornography. What does that mean? That means our youth are getting their sex education from internet pornography, which has all of the possibility of eroding real relationships, love, male-female relationships, which has all the possibility of eroding family life later, which has all the possibility of eroding the church as we know it. Why? Because the church is built on the family. We've got to cut into that. It's all over. Again, I'm not going to get crazy about that, but know that you don't have to go looking for internet porn. It's looking for you and your kids and mine. I was in a restaurant with my daughter and her husband and my 3 grandchildren talking, blah, 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 blah. My little 7-year-old says, "Papa, can I use your iPhone?" I say, "Yeah, here's my iPhone." He hands me the iPhone. He says, "This isn't so good as a Papa." It was pornography. I didn't know my iPhone could get pornography. So I said, I said, "No, Colin, that's not so good." And I took it and discovered. I said, "How'd you do that, Colin?" "Oh, I went to YouTube." And then I discovered that YouTube comes with a phone. It's tough to get off, but you can get it off. Google, delete YouTube, and you can do that pretty easily. All I'm saying is that it's after us. We don't have to go after it. Say a quick word about younger children. You need to know this, and I need to know this, and we need to teach it, whether we have younger children or not. But our culture is lacking, totally lacking, in discipline for younger children. Parents are scared of their children. They really are. They adore them and they're deathly afraid. I gave a keynote at a public school one time, Year of the Child. And one of the women said, I was talking about TV and I would not put a TV in my kid's room. One of the women stood up and she said, I have a 9-year-old who has a TV in the room. What should I do? I said, well, who put it there? She said, well, I did. I said, who do you think might take it out? The whole auditorium gave me a standing ovation. She sat down, blushed. Parents need permission to discipline their children. They're not getting permission from Disney and the Disney movies and Home Alone and all the other movies that are out there. The culture is not empowering parents to discipline children. You know it and I know it. And if you really want to know it, go fly on an airplane. Kids are crazy on an airplane. Because so I am for strong discipline when they're small. When they become teenagers, all we have is communication. All we have is the relationship. So with teenagers, the old-fashioned way of quid pro quo, this for that, doesn't work. We only have the relationship. I'll say one last thing. I've had an indication that I'm running out of time. This goes for all children, that is to say, pre-adolescent, little pre-adolescent, adolescent. We're very careful about the names we give to children. Very careful. Now, I don't mean birth name or baptismal name. I mean real name. Adam in the garden was told by God to name the animals, and he did. It's his job. That thing walking by with a great big neck, Adam, what are you going to call it? That's a giraffe. Okay, that's a giraffe. What's that thing? That's a rhinoceros. That's a rhinoceros. Parents have the same power over their children. Now, as a parent, I know I've used some awful names for my children. God forgive me. If I say to my Timothy, I don't think I ever did this, but if I ever did, if I said, Timothy, you're a liar, what can I expect? I can expect in 2 weeks he's going to lie. Why? Because his dad defined him as a liar. What do liars do? They lie. So if I call him a liar, I can't be surprised when he lies. Understand what I'm saying? We can actually form character by the words we use. If I say to my Beth, you are lazy, all I can expect is in the future she's going to be lazy. That's her definition. I've told her that's who she is. By contrast, if I say, boy, you really, you're a patient little girl, I can expect her to become more patient. Or if I call her sweet, or if I remember when my Timothy was an altar boy, and Father Tom was the priest, poor guy. Sometimes my Timothy, you have to understand, when my Timothy was an altar boy, there were a whole bunch of boys his age who were sons of faculty. Drillock had a son, Dave Drillock had a son, Professor Erickson had 2 sons, so they were a crew to behold. So sometimes they would just be like wall-to-wall problem. I would look for one little thing he did, good, and a coffee hour, I would say, Tim, I noticed that during the great entrance you held your candle properly and you were attentive and I was really proud of you. Now I know full well that one of the older kids came to me afterwards and said, Mr. Rossi, you have to tell Tim to stop tilting his candle on and pouring wax on my head. The kid was a lot bigger than Tim, and I felt like saying, well, you should tell him yourself. I said, I'll take care of it, and I did. But you know what I'm saying? The names we give our children form their character. That's what I want to make. So we're very careful about what we want to get, and we call them that so that in some sense we might start to get it. So with that, I will say thank you very much.